Welcome to sunny side of San Diego.
It's the greatest city in the history of mankind. It's a fact.
Two local San Diegans that look at obstacles as an opportunity for growth.
If you don't fail, you're not even trying.
Michael Carini is the Acrylic Alchemist.
You can call me CEO
of Carini Arts. And Vicente, Vinnie, Enriquez.
No one could do it better.
The team lead of the Enriquez group.
Ride with us.
Damn, it's been a moment. I definitely gotta start working out a little more. Oof, gosh, for some time.
I know. I was watching the intro and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot how fun this was and all the work that we were putting into it and how professional we looked."
Yeah, I know. I was like looking at it, but yeah. Anyways, well, hey, it's great to be back. Oh my gosh, so it's been a couple years, huh?
Has it been that long? It feels like it was like a week ago, but then again, my brain's a little fuzzy these days.
No, because we did do it during COVID. We did do it during COVID, right? The last time we did.
Yeah, I think we did like a couple here and there.
Okay. Well, I mean, back. I mean, I don't even know the last stuff we talked about. I mean, well, I know there's been a lot of stuff going on with you. I mean, what you want to jump in, kind of catch everyone up?
I mean, I would love to if I could have the clarity to do so. So I'm right in the back end of a concussion from a bad car accident, and just yesterday. Earlier this week, you and I were talking about like, oh, I'm feeling like maybe like I want to get back into the swing of things. And then yesterday, I was just like at a breaking point with everything. And I was just like, I am so overwhelmed with life. I feel like I just like can't handle all this stuff going on with all the stuff I'm having to do on the back end, just recovering from this concussion. Like there's days where I am just mentally not there whatsoever. And I'm not even allowed to really go into great detail about it, which is the other hard part. It's like I want to address the things I need to address to get on my healing journey, but I can't even talk about it. So it's like, I don't know.
No, I hear you, man. It's man, just life happens. You're probably seeing now. I got a lot more gray than I had just even a little while ago, right? I mean,
you and me both.
Yeah, time flies. You really gotta know where you're going, right? I mean, because I remember you talking about it. We were like, hey, what was it, 3 years ago when you made the plunge and you
2019.
Yeah, you left your 4 years ago. So you left your gig, right? Your part-time gig?
I mean, it was really a full-time job. And that was the problem, is that I was trying to run a full-time business while also working a separate full-time job at the time.
And like, you're like, I just gotta take the plunge and I gotta go in that direction. Right. And then it was from there, you're starting putting more products out there, more paintings, and then you started selling to like some bigger companies, started doing some side thing. I mean, where but you knew the pathway you want to go, where you want to be, kind of thing. And
I knew where I wanted to be. And I think even more importantly, I knew where I didn't want to be. I was just so fucking miserable in that life. Like I was at the point that I was just done with life completely. And like, so when I talk about yesterday, I'm just overwhelmed with the scenario of the healing journey. But then I was just unsatisfied with life across the board, just because I was stuck in this illusion of security working for somebody else. And, you get into your mid-30s and you realize that you spent all these years believing that this system will support you if you work hard and you have all the right and pure intentions, and it doesn't. You kind of just have to really decide what you want and go out there and get after it. And so there's times that I struggle now, but there's at least a beauty to this struggle. There's a beauty to going after what I want, whereas before there was no beauty in that struggle.
Well, so what you say right there, right, of like you knew where you didn't want to be. It's not necessarily where you wanted to go, but you knew where you didn't want to be. And like I get so many times in the real estate fields, right, where I have different coaches that kind of advise me, hey, you should do this, do that, right? And they go, all right, just go the hunger, do that extra half an hour. Like I tell myself all the time, I'm happy with my life. I mean, I don't want to overwork myself, because I've been in that thing where I've got the chest pains, where I've been like so stressed out, and I know where I don't want to be. Right. And so it's like, at least knowing where you don't want to be, I think helps us get to where we want to get to.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that too, because what you just described is kind of where I was yesterday. It was like, so with my healing journey right now, coming off of this concussion, I'm supposed to be taking a lot of downtime. I'm supposed to be relaxing. I'm supposed to be taking it easy. But I'm a one-person business. So if I'm not operational, I'm not bringing in money, which means I can't keep a roof over my head. So at this time that I'm supposed to be relaxing, I really feel like I'm having to work 3 times as much. But the thing is like simple tasks, reading sentences is very difficult for me right now. Like I'll read something and I'll need to read it like 10 more times. So like really basic tasks of checking spelling, conversations, like even with doing this recording, there may be times where my thoughts don't coherently run or where I just pause because my brain at times is just not there to catch me on the other side. And so yesterday, that's what I was feeling. I was feeling like I had all these pains, like I'm just working at a time I'm supposed to be resting, and I'm not recovering for that reason. And it just, I'm trying to find that peace. And so I feel a little bit better today. We tried a couple new things with my therapy yesterday for my physical therapy, and the gym workout today was a little bit better. And so, one day at a time. And I'm thankful that today I could catch my breath, even if it was just for a second. Because yesterday I was feeling like I just couldn't catch my breath at all.
So if people that are only listening to us and not watching us, I just went off this tangent in my head based off of Michael's shirt, Pain Hub, right? So if people don't know, it's a play off of Pornhub. But anyway, so
what are you talking about? I've never heard of that. What is that?
Yeah, exactly. You never heard of that. So, but then I remember I was listening to a podcast on Joe Rogan, and they're talking about OnlyFans made like $2 billion last year. And I was just like, dude, that's just crazy. The money people pay for that. Can you get a piece of that pie for your art?
Well, so I have another shirt too that says, "Please buy my art. I'm not built for OnlyFans." But the funny thing is I actually work with several very popular girls that do OnlyFans. In fact, I work with a girl that's in the top, I think she's top 0.002%. So not even top 1%, top 0.002%.
Oh, wow.
Like wildly popular. And, so no judgment from me, people doing what they need to do, doing your hustle, whatever works for you. And there's another girl that I work with that does very well on it. And we did a photo shoot a couple weeks ago where we did some things with the art, like staging the art. We created like this Alice in Wonderland type atmosphere. And it was really, really cool. So, I'm kind of like working my way into the niche, but I'm like not quite all the way there. And, there's a lot of things you can do there. It doesn't always have to be like one thing, the way that people perceive it.
So what's the like ballpark of how much do you think they make, those OnlyFans people that you...
I don't know for sure, and I don't want to say anything that would offend my friend that does it, but I would imagine I would have to think being in the top 0.002% is, from what I've seen, I believe she's one of the most sought out models in the world. I'd have to say she's making in the millions.
Yeah. So how does that work with a collaboration, right? When you're collaborating with them, is it like half of the proceeds, or you get split down the middle, or do you pay for that, or how does it work?
It's more so like I did a week ago, I did the shoot with one of my friends that does it. And so we took my big paintings like I have behind me right now that people watching the video can see. And we made this like 3-dimensional space with my large paintings and took some really, really cool photos that I'm really excited to be sharing probably in the next couple of weeks. I think we're going to wait until around Halloween when she wants to debut them. But, there's a lot of different things you can do. I've brought her to music festivals with me before, and I've body painted her, thrown some paint on her. We've done some things like that where I do my sort of fluid art painting on her body. And what I get out of it is that, we get some cool creative content. She shares it with her audience. It maybe helps me grow a little bit. It allows her to do shoots where she can kind of dive into the creativity. And it makes me happy to know that she feels safe and comfortable working with me, both of these girls that I work with. So the other girl, the girl that's the like top of the niche, we've done a couple shoots where we did like some body painting things. We even did one where she actually painted on me too. And it was the first time I think she had ever done something with a guy in the video. And so I felt really happy to know that she trusted me and felt that level of comfort to work with me. Because, just like an artist in that type of atmosphere, you really kind of put yourself out there and you're kind of exposed. And it's an industry where a lot of people judge, like just like with art, and a little different. People make a lot of judgments, a lot of assessments, and it's really important to be able to find that comfort of being able to work with people, I think.
So in that scenario, right? I mean, with the collaboration, you're getting basically more eyes on your product, and she's basically the pictures she gets, the keep the pictures of the stuff that's going on? Is that
It
really
allows
good?
them to kind of do something where they feel like it's a little more creative. It's like rather than just posting photos and be like, hey, I'm posing trying to look sexy, of like, hey, like here's me actually getting to be creative and getting to enjoy myself, getting to express myself and kind of capturing that and allowing them to dive into their creativity too. Because the one girl that I mentioned, she's trying to kind of build her art business. And so I'm kind of serving as a mentor to help her grow her art business and kind of advising like, hey, do you want to play off of the audience that you have there? Because, you already got a big substantial amount of numbers that you may be able to carry over and help kind of build you a little quicker. And, personally, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. If you've already got the audience, you've already got the tools, why not introduce them to this other side of you? And if people don't want to support that, they do, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it comes down to you being happy and feeling fulfilled with what you're doing. And if you feel happy and fulfilled doing that, then that's wonderful. And if you feel happy and fulfilled doing this, that's wonderful. And if you feel happy and fulfilled crossing them over, that's great too.
So, I mean, how do you keep that line, right? Because you're single now, right?
Yeah, for a couple years, I've sworn off. In fact, I don't think we've done probably a video since that time where I swore off relationships. And so I have just basically said, I'm not going to do relationships anymore. I'm going to just focus on my business because I don't want to deal with the emotional ups and downs that come for me with relationships.
Well, I think you said I'm not doing relationships, but I'm doing one night stands.
No, I've never said that.
I thought you said that. You didn't say that?
No, because that's not my thing at all. Because I'm not a person that goes out and looks for people or anything like that. I'm completely content on my own. I'm not the type of person that's out just looking to rack up numbers. I specifically do not want that. I don't want to deal with all the stuff that comes with that. I don't want to mess with anybody else's emotions. And I just don't want anybody else to put me on the roller coaster that I experienced when I would go through relationships, because I would a lot of times find people that would want all the, creative, intense energy, but then the intensity on the back end was too much. And so they would take all the good energy from me and then they just vacate, and then it would send me kind of downhill and I'd have to keep building myself up. And I don't want to have to keep doing that because life is hard enough as it is.
So what happens, right? Okay, let's say, I mean, these models that you work with, right? You have to find them some kind of physically attractive. I mean, is there ever a time where you have to kind of or are you simply that I'm focused on my art and that can separate basically the level of how I perceive them compared to this is simply because some of these girls are I thought I saw you naked, right? Where you're painting them.
Yeah, in some cases, not in all cases, but so the interesting thing is that one of them, the one that is the top 0.002%, she's married, and the other one, she's got a boyfriend, and I met her boyfriend. We go to the same gym together, and he trusts me, and because he trusts me, and these women trust me, I don't want to betray their trust. So it's funny because I've thought of that before too. I know from the outside looking in, a lot of times, if you have a significant other and they're dealing with somebody with the opposite sex, you start to wonder, is there something going on? But with me, I can honestly say that there are none of those they are very, very attractive women. They're lovely women. I love them, but really, I love who they are as people. Yeah. But I don't look at them in that, and I know it may sound weird. I don't look at them that way. We've become friends, and there's this level of trust that I feel that in saying I don't want to do relationships anymore and I don't want to deal with any of that stuff and I want to be an ethical person and, I'm not going to interfere with anybody else's relationships either. It has allowed me to really build just honest, genuine friendships with the opposite sex where there are no ulterior motives. There's no secret intentions, anything like that. And I think that they feel that from me. And so that really gives them the trust to work with me. And so I think that that's a cool thing. That's a really cool feeling to know that I can work with people that are probably, a lot of people do look at them that way and make comments of a certain nature, and that they can have that trust to know that I am pure in my intention.
Yeah, that's definitely. Has there been any times where you had to fight with that, or does it? I mean, because I know, right? I don't think I've ever had a drinking problem, right? But you hear those things about people that go to AA, right? It's one day at a time, and then the next thing you know, it's even though feel like I'm really good, I could always relapse and that kind of stuff. I mean, has there been kind of like a slope upwards where like out of sight, relationship out of mind, out of mind, out of mind, and now it's like you don't even think about that kind of stuff about one day I want a relationship or anything like that, or do you still have kind of like maybe I do, and does it go back and forth? Does that make sense? Question?
Yeah, I mean, I go to the gym all the time, and like, there are very attractive women in my gym, but a lot of times I'll even approach them and I'll be like, "Hey, do you want some stickers?" But I'll do the same thing with guys, and I don't really feel the need to take it further. Now, if one was ever like, "Hey, I checked out your art and you seem like an interesting person, I'd like to get to know you," I might be like, "Okay, like we could do like a friend activity, like go to the zoo or something like that." And if something happens, but I'm very clear in my intentions that it's not fair to me to enter into a relationship, and it's not fair to them to enter in a relationship. So it really, I'm just very honest about it. I'm just not in that place. And I honestly don't see myself going back to that. I just don't think that it's the thing for me. I have found more of a peace with this life, and it allows me to cultivate more genuine relationships in a different capacity with people. But it's such a weird thing, because if you had asked me a couple years ago, like, could I do this, like what I'm doing right now, I would have been like, oh no. And if I was like working with models, like there were times in the past where I'm not talking about crossing boundaries or anything like that, but times where I looked at them and like, oh, they're very attractive, I would love to date them. I have not in a single time had any of those types of thoughts whatsoever. I've been able to just separate it. And so, but I mean, you mentioned the addiction thing too, and I think that's a good correlation, because I'm back into the stage where I'm also not drinking. And so it's tough. Like you do, just like with that, it's hard. You have to compartmentalize and separate your from certain things to kind of stay on that road, because of course there's always temptation when it comes to all of these things. It's not like I'm like not attracted. Like I said, I go to the gym. There's some very beautiful women there that have common interests, because they're, into fitness, into stuff like that, and wellness. So, I look at them, I'm like, oh, yeah, she's a lovely woman. But like, I can kind of separate that and kind of leave that at that.
Yeah. And you talking about addiction. I mean, I do think I have an addictive personality, but I don't think I have any crazy like addictions. But like one is, I'm a big gambler when I go to Vegas, and like, but I don't do it above my means. Right. We just took a cruise ship, and they have a craps table. You know craps, right? Where you roll the dice.
Yeah.
I leave the table. I'm like, I gotta go back there. Gotta go back. But it's like never to the point where I was like I'm playing above what I can afford to lose. But it was just one of those things like, oh yeah.
Well, I have an addictive personality for sure when it comes to everything. So you mentioned gambling, and it reminded me that in the past year or two, I really got into scratchers. But it's kind of like the same thing. I did have to pull back. Yeah. But generally, I was always working within my means, like what I had, like where I'd say, like, okay, this week we're going to put in this amount of money. And then if I won anything, I'd be like, okay, we're going to get more scratchers. But I started to get really into like the strategies of what I was going to do. And like, oh, well, I should buy this one because it has better odds. And, oh, I like this game. And, oh, like these are the lucky numbers and stuff like that. So like I was trying to game the system. I still to this day, as much as I have played them, have not even won. I think the most I won is $60 on one. I've never even won $100. So I need to cool my ass on that, because it's not like I've ever won anything substantial.
Oh no, it's a trip, man. Like, and I mean, even playing like the lottery and stuff like that. I mean, it's usually just that at least for me. I mean, I don't think about the idea of winning with the lottery. It's more about it'd be nice, but it's like those moments or that night before where you're like, oh, my numbers are going to hit. What you're going to do with it, right? That kind of moment of kind of a little bit relaxation, I guess, to it. That's like I think a lot of us play that. I mean, because the likelihood of you actually winning is so minuscule.
Wait, you've had moments of relaxation in your life?
Well, you don't have that where you get the thing, the lottery ticket, and you're like, okay, if I won this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna invest in this, I'm gonna do that, right? And it's just that moment of like almost like gratification. It's like the same kind of moment that you have, I think, at least for me, like you eat a good meal and then you have like some like ice cream or something. You're like, after that last bite, you're like, that was nice. That was good.
See, maybe my brain's just wired completely wrong, because I don't have those moments. I'll have those moments of like, oh my God, this is so good. Like, keep going as fast as you can. And then I'm out and I'm like, oh, I want more. So like, geez, I really am an addict in like every capacity of the word.
You know what you gotta do. You gotta drink. You gotta drink more. Do you drink a lot of water before you eat?
I mean, I drink between a gallon to a gallon and a half of water a day, but not necessarily right before I eat.
Because I always thought about that. I was like drinking water right before you eat, so you're kind of filling yourself up a little bit, and then you eat, and so you really can't eat more because you have so much in your stomach, and so it almost stops you.
I don't know though. My roommate says that I could enter some of those competitive eating contests and potentially win. Oh, you know, and I don't know why this just crossed my mind. So like, here's concussion brain. But Anderson Silva was at my gym this morning, and I figured I'd throw that out there.
That's awesome right there.
I didn't see him at first. There's a guy that boxes, and he's like, "See the guy in the black hat over there?" And I'm like, "Who?" And he's like, "Right there." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." And he's like, "That's Anderson Silva." So there's a jiu-jitsu team that is training. I guess they have a camp here in San Diego, and I guess they probably had Anderson come out, maybe a couple other people. I was gonna go say hi to him if he was still there, but it looked like he took off, and I didn't want to be in anybody's space or anything like that.
It's crazy. Did you ever watch that fight when he broke his leg?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, man, that was like, just imagine that, like, just ugh.
Well, and what's crazy is that that's only happened like 3 times in the UFC. Once with Anderson Silva, and then once with Chris Weidman, who it happened to when it was with Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
God, it's just terrifying.
Yeah, I know it's definitely a trip. Well, yeah. I mean, any last thoughts? Anything else you want to kind of throw out there, or you're thinking about, or?
Well, I forgot to mention when you mentioned the paint hub thing. So, like, my favorite part about this is I forget that I'm wearing this a lot of times, but I go out in public, and a lot of times I'll have kids that look at me, and I'll be like, "Why is that kid looking at me?" And then I'll realize I'm like, "Oh, I'm wearing my paint hub shirt," but they won't want to say anything about it because they're kids, and sometimes they'll like be with their parents. Yeah. Like when I was doing a private art lesson with one of the girls from OnlyFans downtown. Yeah. There's a nice space in this luxury apartment complex that lets us, because they work in conjunction with the gallery, they let me do VIP art lessons there. Yeah. So we were doing an art lesson. It was me and her. It was me and Autumn, and we were doing a painting. And this kid that was probably like, I want to say like 12 years old, just started hanging around and came in and then started talking. And he was talking to me a little bit, but I could tell he was more interested in Autumn than he was in me. And afterwards, a few minutes later, his dad comes in, is knocking like pretty aggressively on the window, and is like, "Get out here." And then I had a conversation with Autumn afterwards. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that it had something to do with the shirt that I'm wearing and the fact that it was you here with me. They probably thought maybe we were shooting some type of scene or something like that.
Well, I'm pretty sure, right? There's a tower in downtown San Diego that they film in, right?
Is there? I didn't know that. Yeah,
one of the like nature, whatever. What is it? Natural. I forgot the name of the company, whatever. But someone told me that once. So there's one of the companies down in San Diego. So you never know. Maybe they did think that you're shooting a scene.
Well, I mean, hey, if the rent and cost of living keeps going up in San Diego, I may have to, maybe the reason subconsciously I've been butting up with these lady friends of mine is so that they can introduce me to the industry and get me set up to make some money so I can pay these bills.
Yeah, but I don't think you make that. I think you make more money in OnlyFans than you do in that kind of stuff.
I mean, oh, absolutely. And also, as a guy, you're not going to make as much money either.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's been some crazy stuff. I told you I lived in Prague, right? I lived in Prague, out in Czech Republic, and like there was a big scene out that way, and I knew a person out there that was so into it. And he was telling me, "Oh yeah, there's filming all over the place. Like, it's just so much cheaper." Just like, man, it's a trip, man. Like some of those places, but yeah, I don't think you can make that much money on that stuff. But,
yeah, and like I can't fake feelings or emotions and stuff like that. So I've even talked to the girls that I know, and I'm like, is it tough that you have to essentially like be this character when you're in that performance mode? Because I know these girls, and the reason that I like talking to them and that I'm friends with them is because they're the sweetest, nicest girls. They treat me very well, better than really most of the friends I've ever had before. Like very, very nice, genuine, soft-spoken girls, but they have this other side, this business, and they are able to separate that. And I just don't know that I ever could. Like even with the art stuff, like as I get bigger and I get more responses and more trolls, it's hard to compartmentalize and it's hard to separate and it's hard to know when to leave things alone.
Oh my gosh, talking about trolls, I officially had a troll. So we had this listing, that we made it look really, really nice, right? And of course, that's what we do for our listings. We try to make the properties look nice. So we had heavy traffic, and people are coming in. They're like, "Oh my gosh, like this does not it looks so much better in the pictures than it does in person, right?" And I mean, we're trying to get eyes on the property, right? And so one of the people writes a negative review about me, right? And he's like, I met this guy. I told him how that the property didn't look like the picture, and he just shined me on. And I never even met the guy. He might have met one of my team members, but he didn't talk to me, right? And so I was like, whatever, right? I said, I'm sorry that you felt that way. We try to make our properties look as nice as possible, right? And then I did a post on something else for another property, and he's like, don't work with this guy. Don't work with this guy. He is a liar. He's a this. And I was like, oh my God. And then I did another post on social media, and he did it again. I'm like, dude, this guy's fucking chasing me around. Like, he's really trying to make sure his point's across.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't do that unless, I mean, okay, trolls are ridiculous. So there's no rhyme or reason, but that's the type of action of somebody that was like really hurt by something that was done to them, type of thing.
Well, I think it's the real estate market. We don't have that much inventory out there, so not everyone wins or gets their offer accepted, and so. Oh,
gotcha. Well, you know what else it could be? It could have been another realtor that's just trying to, like, hey, how do I knock down the competition type of thing?
It definitely could. There's haters out there for sure, and I mean, there's probably other artists that they talk smack about you, right?
Oh, I'm sure that there are. Like I'm dealing with that a lot right now. So I have this thing that I started called Eggplant of the Week, where basically people that troll me, I just freaking roast them and just torch them. And then I screenshot it and I post it, and I don't block out their name or anything. I'm like, hey, you want to be a dick? Then guess what? Here's your 2 minutes of fame. And guess what? This is the most attention you're probably ever going to get, because obviously you need a little bit of love, because you're feeling like your parents didn't love you very much growing up and they didn't support your dream. Because the people that troll me are always people that have like 100 followers or something. They're like, oh, abstract art sucks. I'm like, okay, Richard, whatever you say, like, please tell me more as I'm paying my bills doing this stuff, and have these relationships, and like I'm not better than any other artist, but I'm making a living doing this, and it's always people that probably have to wait for their 16-year-old manager to approve a bathroom break before they can read my comments, dropping these bullshit lines for me.
Yeah. You know what? It's what did they say? You don't. People usually don't are not jealous or hating on people beneath them, right? It's mostly people above them.
Oh yeah, it always is. In fact, I dropped an artist tip earlier today, and it was about exactly that. It was basically that the larger you get, the more trolls you're going to get. So if you start to see that and you start to see it spike, it's generally an indication that you're really doing something right. Because what happens is when I have videos or content that starts to go viral, that's when I really get trolls. And that's when I get people hating. Like, one of the things I've been doing in the past year or so is I started doing all my own audios on Instagram for Reels, and a lot of them trend. So one of them's at like almost 13,000 uses. But a couple of the ones, because this kind of goes back to what we were talking about, I have one about OnlyFans, like, please buy my art. I'm not built for OnlyFans. So it's basically me kind of marketing the shirt that I have. Yeah. And it's just a joke, and it's not talking about anybody else. It's referring to myself, like, please buy my art. I'm not built for OnlyFans. It's not knocking sex workers. It's not knocking anybody that does OnlyFans or anything like that. But I've had a few people that are like, oh, like, you're bashing on sex workers. I'm like, how am I bashing on sex workers? I'm talking about myself. And second of all, I work with people in the industry, and they have no problem with it. In fact, some of them have like the girls that I work with all have my paint up shirt. They don't see that at all. But those are people that are successful in the industry. And I looked at this person's following, and it was somebody that had like, a couple hundred followers. I'm like, okay, so she doesn't perform very well on there, and she's upset because of her own insecurities. Doesn't really have anything to do with me. So, like, whatever. At the end of the day, people are going to be insecure about this, that, and another thing. And you just got to do what you do.
I think that might be a good thing to finish it off, right? So the moral of the story, if anybody's listening right now and they have an opportunity for Michael to jump into the sex working industry, I mean, give him a call, reach out to him, shoot him a text. He would love the opportunity to see what's out there.
There we go.
Is that a good?
I mean, if the pay is right, seriously, like, I feel like I do well in my industry as an artist. Like I feel like I'm a successful artist, but every time that I like meet the bar and exceed it, then like it just gets moved 10 steps higher. It's like, I built my industry or my business on minimizing overhead. And it's like it has now cost 3 times as much as it did like even when I left my job in 2019, it cost well over double overall to have what I had. So yeah, I mean, I may have to flash a couple. I told my roommate, I'm like, hey, all the times that you're not here, I'm just installing new cameras in your room.
Oh boy, well, and this is being recorded, so roommate, just be aware.
Oh yeah, I've told her before.
All right, well, guys, we're back. We're planning to do this more consistently, so please subscribe, please share, reach out to us if you have any questions. I know last time we had some people that were talking about trying to be on the podcast with us, but yeah, just reach out. We're here, we're back, and if there's a topic you want us to talk about, let's get it on here. See you guys.